Hi kids, welcome to Miss Nancy's Bible College for Kids. Today's story is in the Old Testament in the book of Samuel, chapters 15 and 16. This is when Israel got their first king, and when they rejected Christ as their king, this one was chose. The title of this lesson is A King Elected, Rejected, and Another King Selected. So let's get started. Samuel, he's God's man, said unto Saul, who was a king, The Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when they came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man, woman, infant, suckling, ox, sheep, camel, and ass. He said, take everything out, no exceptions. And Saul gathered the people together, and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 footmen, and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to a city of Amalek, and laid wait in the valley. And Saul said unto the Kenites, Go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. And here's why he spared them. For ye showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. I'm struggling with that word. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah unto thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. That tells you how he destroyed them. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and of the oxen, and of the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile and refuse, that they destroyed utterly. Then came the word of the Lord to Samuel, saying, It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king. And here's why. For he is turned back from following me, and hath not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, Blessed be thou of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord. No, he hadn't. And Samuel said, What meaneth this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? And Saul said, starts pushing the blame like we do, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and oxen, and to sacrifice, he says. So he's trying to make it sound good. To sacrifice unto the Lord thy God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed. So he points the finger at them, and then he takes part of the blame for the other, what he thinks is good. Then Samuel said to Saul, Stay, and I will tell thee what the Lord has said to me this night. And he said unto him, Say on. And Samuel said, When thou wast little in thine own sight, was thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel? Yes. And the Lord anointed thee king over Israel? Yes. And the Lord sent thee on a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. He's saying, didn't he tell you this, that, this? Wherefore then didst thou not obey the voice of the Lord, but didst fly upon the spoil, and didst evil in the sight of the Lord? And Saul said unto Samuel, he's still in denial, Yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me. Two things he says is true. And have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. 3 out of 4 things was true. But the people took of the spoil. Here he is, giving them the blame again. Sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed. And he tries to make an excuse again. To sacrifice unto the Lord thy God in Gilgal. And kids, what Miss Nosy Nancy found out this time is every time Saul is speaking, he says, thy God, thy God. But he was chosen of God. So anyway, I just found that interesting. And Samuel said, hath the Lord great delight in burnt offerings and sacrificing, as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, and kids, remember this with your parents and with the Lord. To obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of the rams. And here's why. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Don't be rebellious with your parents. And stubbornness as iniquity, that means sin. And idolatry, that means putting something before God. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and thy words, because I feared the people, and obeyed their voice. Did he? I'm not sure whether he made the rule, I'm pretty sure, or whether they just did what they want to do, but I believe it was on him. Now therefore, I pray thee, pardon my sin, and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord. Sounds very pious, very, godly, spiritual. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord hath rejected thee from being king over Israel. And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of Saul's mantle and rent it. He tore it. And Samuel said to him, the Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and hath given it to a neighbor of thine that is better than thou. And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man that he should repent. He's talking about the Lord himself. Then he said, this is Saul speaking, I have sinned, yet, he's still wanting something, yet honor me now, I pray thee, before the elders of the people. He wanted to look good. It mattered to him how he looked to the people. But turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord. So Samuel turned again after Saul, and Saul worshiped the Lord. Maybe he really did get his heart right. Too little, too late. Then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. I can just see him saying that. And Samuel said, as the sword hath made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag into pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to the house to Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel came no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul. That was the first king Israel ever had. And the Lord repented that he had made Saul king over Israel. And the Lord said to Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil, and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, and I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear of it, he will kill me. And the Lord said, take a heifer with thee, and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord. So he gave him a way to make this accomplished. And then he called Jesse and all of his sons. He went down through the first one, Eliab. He was a handsome man, big and mighty. And Samuel thought this was it. Nope. God said, you are looking at the outside, but I see the heart. And he goes down through all the sons, and still God hadn't told him one that they had appointed, that he was going to anoint. But anyway, it comes down to the last one, and evidently they didn't think much of David. But it was David out in the fields. He goes, oh yeah, there's one more. He's out there keeping a few sheep. But anyway, so Samuel goes and anoints David. So Saul got elected. He was the first one elected. The people wanted him instead of Christ. Then he got rejected because he didn't obey the Lord. And then Samuel anoints David, the next king. And that young man is a man after God's own heart. And he goes on to serve Saul. And it's a long journey for David, but it's a good one. He's a man after God's own heart. And I hope all you kids are too. So let's see if you get the answers. Who anointed Saul king, the first king ever over Israel? Samuel. What did the Lord remember about Amalek? How he had laid wait for Israel when they came out of Egypt, didn't he? And what did the Lord command Saul, King Saul, to do? He said, go, smite utterly. That means kill everything. And it wasn't just people, was it? No, it was animals. It was babies, men, women, infants, and baby animals and all the animals. And he said, do not spare any of them. So when King Saul gathered the people together, how many did he have? 200,000. Then he had 10,000 from Judah. But anyway, what did King Saul tell the Kenites? Go, depart. And he showed kindness to them. He said, if you don't, I'm going to kill you along with the Amalekites. So, did they go? Yes, they went. And did King Saul kill everyone? No, he did not. Who did he spare? King Agag of the Amalekites. What else did he spare? Not just a man. He spared the best of the animals and stuff, didn't he? And what did the Lord say to Samuel about Saul? It repents me. That means, man, he was so sorry that he'd ever made Saul to be the king of Israel. And what did Samuel do all that night when God said, I'm sorry I ever put him up? Samuel cried unto the Lord all night. When it was told Saul that Samuel was there at Gilgal, what did King Saul say to Samuel? He blessed him and said, I have performed what the Lord commanded me to do. What did Samuel reply? He said, all right. What meaneth the bleating of the sheep and the oxen that I hear? What did King Saul say? Those people, have brought them from Amalekites, and the people spared the best of the animals to worship the Lord. So he was wanting to sound good. But he said, but they utterly destroyed the rest. Then Samuel said to Saul, what? He said, wait here. I'll talk to the Lord and I'll tell you what he says. Then he reminds him. You remember when, he said, when you was little, the Lord picked you. He went with you. He let you do mighty things. But anyway, Samuel said, why didn't you obey the Lord? Then what did King Saul say? Yea, I have obeyed the Lord. I went when he told me. I've brought King Agag and utterly destroyed the Amalekites. Well, I'm sorry, but King Agag was the head leader of them. But anyway, both was not possible, so it was a false statement. What excuse did he give? The people. Those people took the spoil, sheep, oxen, all the best, though, to sacrifice to the Lord. What did Samuel say then? Hath the Lord great delight in burnt sacrifices and offerings, or by obedience? God chooses you to be obedient every time, kids, and I pray that you will. And what did Samuel say rebellion was like? He said rebellion's like witchcraft. What did he say stubbornness was like? Sin and idolatry. And when Samuel told King Saul, because you rejected the word of the Lord, what did he say the Lord rejected? He said he rejected you from being the king of Israel. So when King Saul wanted Samuel to pardon his sin and turn again with him to worship, what did Samuel answer? I will not go with you. And he reminds Saul, You rejected the word, and he's rejecting you. He tells him again. When Samuel turned to leave, what did he grab hold of Saul's? He grabbed the skirt of his mantle and ripped it, didn't he? And with that, what did he say? He said, the Lord rent the kingdom out of your hand and gave it to your neighbor who's better than you. Little did Saul know that this man that was going to be king after him was going to come in and work with and for Saul. But what did King Saul say then? He said, I have sinned, so he confessed that. But he said, but now would you honor me? You know, with the elders, I don't want to lose face is what that means. But this time, for some reason, Samuel did. I guess maybe after Saul confessed, because he did, that he was forgiven. But anyway, so they do, and Saul ends up worshiping. When Samuel told Saul to bring him King Agag, how did Agag act when he got in front of Samuel? He acted very humbly, and he said this, surely the bitterness of death is past. What was Samuel's response? As your sword made many women childless, so shall your mother be. And then he hewed Agag into pieces. And anyway, when Samuel called and went to anoint one of Jesse's sons, God made a way for him to get to him. What was that way? He said, take a heifer, and you say you're going to worship the Lord in the sacrifice. So he did. But when he got to Jesse's sons, which one did he choose? And he had to go through all of them to get to this one. It was David, wasn't he? And when the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, there was something that came into Saul. And I'm not even sure if I read this part, but I will tell you, it was the evil spirit from the Lord. And Saul used David after this, after the story's over. And he came in, and when the evil spirit entered Saul, David played music. And it took that spirit out of Saul. So anyway, guys, I hope you love this. The first two kings of Israel and the different personalities are phenomenal. I will see you next time. Bye.